Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today I want to talk about what I think is the finest music festival of all time. And the reason is because it had such a wide variety of bands that were at their peak. Now, it took place a year after Woodstock, and their goal was to be even bigger than Woodstock, and it was in terms of the number of bands and in terms of attendance. And it took place on a small little island that few people, other than sort of older tourists, ever really went to. It's the Isle of Wight off of the southern coast of England. And it was very, very crowded. Over 500,000 people, 600,000 to be exact, crowded the little island on those 3 days. Well, a bit more than that if you include some of the preamble stuff. But the main part of the festival did take place over the weekend. And I just want to read you the names of just some of the bands that were playing there. So on the Friday, Chicago played. They were really a fairly new band at that time, but they were already huge. Family, a great sort of folky prog rock band. John Wetton was in them for a time. The wonderful Procol Harum. Cactus, which featured Carmine Appice from the Vanilla Fudge, really cool band there. On the Saturday, an even larger group of bands. Miles Davis, Chick Corea was there, I believe, in that band and that particular lineup. Wonderful, wonderful band of Miles, arguably his best. 10 years after, one of the best blues rock bands ever. The second ever gig of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and the first ever big one, The Doors, just a year before Jim Morrison died. The Who provided their sound system to the entire festival, and they played all of Tommy live on stage. Sly and the Family Stone were there on the Saturday. So was Joni Mitchell. So was John Sebastian of the Love and Spoonful. The Sean Phillips, a very well-known folk artist of the day. The sort of comedian, if you will, comic musician, novelty musician, Tiny Tim. And then on the Saturday, you've got the Moody Blues at their peak. You've got Jethro Tull right when they were getting going. You got Hendrix, one of the final shows that he did before his the final show at the Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club. Leonard Cohen, Richie Havens, who had opened up Woodstock, Donovan, Free, Paul Rogers, of course, Chris Christopherson was there. And these are just some of the bands. And the best part is pretty much everything that happened on stage was captured on film. The quality was pretty good. It was actual film, obviously. Not some rigged up television setup. The sound recordings of the bands that we've all heard now, most of them are on YouTube, all very good stuff. And all of these bands were really, really either hitting their stride coming out of the gates or at their peak. There was no one involved in that festival that was past their prime. And it was sort of, even though it took place in 1970, it was the last of the great 60s festivals, because in the 70s, you had some great festivals, but many of them had sponsorships. There was, of course, ABC Television's California Jam, which had one of the bands that was at this festival. It had Emerson, Lake and Palmer, had what is arguably one of Deep Purple's very best performances. You've got Black Sabbath at that festival, Seals and Crofts, and then there was Cal Jam too. But again, that was different because that was a made-for-TV festival. And then by the time you get to the 80s with Live Aid, people see just how commercialized festivals could become. So this was that lost of the generation of those 60s festivals where you had things like the Monterey Pop Festival, Woodstock, previous smaller Isle of Wight festivals. It even was referenced in Spinal Tap, the I Love Lucy festival. Very funny. They could do no wrong. So definitely check out all of your favorite artists who played at the Isle of Wight. It was a special festival. Most of it has been uploaded to YouTube. Others can be found elsewhere. We've got The Who behind me, who did a great show-stopping performance, but it was one of those festivals where, frankly, everyone stole the show because there wasn't a bad lineup and there wasn't really anyone who had a bad gig that day. So do check it out. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time. Take care.